Hello, welcome to this wonderful episode of Faultline. My name is Daniel, and I'm here with two guests today, Arabella and Lynn. And today we were going to start out the episode by talking about the latest trend on social media of these sites which purport to give out a news story, but the news stories are kind of satirical, taken in their own right, and so it's kind of protected by the First Amendment. But what they try to do is they try to advertise the story out of context and make the story go viral to generate hits for their webpage so they can generate ad revenue. So, either one of you, Arabella or Lynn, what do you guys think about this?
Lynn, you want to go first?
Sure. I don't know, some of the stories are pretty funny.
They're really funny.
As for generating revenue, that's pretty much the aim of everybody these days, isn't it?
You can't blame them. You know,
I can get a laugh while doing it.
I actually was not aware of this phenomenon until like a week ago. But I'm always like, the Johnny come lately to anything that's going on in the tech world whatsoever. So it's not surprising that I wasn't aware of it. I mean, I can kind of, use my discernment, like when I see an article and I'm like, that sounds a little, strange. Off. Exactly. But I wasn't totally aware of it until, I don't know, I have a friend who posted something like 2 days ago. And this is where it really caught my attention. And it's this one article that apparently it's been shared left and right. So my friend shared it. She's like, "You would be so interested in this. You gotta listen to this." And I was like, "What?" And she said, here's the article. And so she linked it to me. It says, Red Sea. Archaeologists discover remains of Egyptian army. They think it's from the biblical Exodus. So, they think they found the Egyptian army, when Moses parted the Red Sea. Yeah, supposedly they had this expedition where they were looking for boats, which is unclear, what they were actually looking for. But they found hundreds, if not thousands, of human remains, at the bottom of the Red Sea. And so and we found some, gold swords that look like they're Egyptian. Well, this is proof positive that, that this actually happened. I mean, it's proof of the biblical Exodus. And she posted it as if it was absolute, truth that, it was on NBC or something, that they just discovered the Ark or something, And within, the day, I didn't pay any attention to it, but within a day, somebody had commented, put a comment, so I got the comment feed, and it said, this has been called out by a website that actually polices this stuff, and it's fake news, and it has this woman with, a megaphone, yelling out, fake news, And her response to it was, well, she was just trying to save face, I think, because she was like, well, I don't care if it's real or it's not real, because, everyone knows everything that happened in the Bible is true anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I was like, that's your response? And it just sort of highlights, how strange things have become on the internet, the discernment process that people use it's just getting weird, But I had to laugh at that because that was, I know I've seen other articles like this, but that one really stood out. I was like, come on. that, Dan?
No, I didn't hear about that Red Sea one, but I've seen a lot of them.
Well,
Generally, what?
if you Google it, I mean, there's like 50 links. I mean, this was picked up by other fake news sites. Like, they're just spreading it around, but then people are linking it on their social media like it's a real story. And I
Right.
think, like, vast majority of people that are reading this, for some reason, are not realizing that it's fake. You know, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, a lot of times when I see an article in my news feed on Facebook, I'll look at the original link and see and make sure it's like something that doesn't say something like some weird URL or address. One thing I wanted
Like
to ask,
fake news.
yeah, Keck,
FakeNews.com.
fake news or Keck news or something like that. So let me ask the both of you, what do you think is one of the weirdest articles you might have seen? In other words, not necessarily the most believable, but like what is like the weirdest one that purported to be an article that you might remember?
I
Either
don't
one of
know.
you?
That one pretty much stands out for me. They actually have a picture of divers, like, holding a darkened skull, you know?
Uh
And
huh.
apparently it came from something totally different, you know? Oh, wait, no, I can think of one more. Apparently there was a fake story that got put out on one of these satire sites about a girl who was so brokenhearted that she fell in love with a tree. Like, she was done with men, and she literally fell in love with the tree. Like, you can look this up right now. Like, it's on there, and there's pictures of her, like, hugging the tree, and that she became obsessed with this tree. And if you type it in, the link is actually, like, you can find on the heading, "Girl has sex with a tree." It's the most ridiculous thing. And it actually got picked up by some legitimate news sites who thought this was real. And it got passed around, and then you can see, like, the Twitter, like, responses below are like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this was apparently a fake. We don't know how this happened, but this is not a legitimate story." But girl falls in love with tree and names it Tim. I was like, it's up a new low. You know, I didn't even know what to make of it. I was just like, I just want to log out right now. You know, take a breather. But it's a legit phenomenon. I mean, people really believe this, and they were sharing it. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, that's hilarious. I don't know. What about you guys? You see anything else like that?
I see them all the time. Most of the time I don't pay attention to them.
Yeah, that's how I am. I generally don't pay attention to them. Generally, if something is in your news, I've kind of run across just the general thought pattern that if something's in your news feed that purports to be like an official article, you pretty much don't pay attention to it. But if you want like official news, then go to uh, whatever news source you use, be it Fox, CNN, MSNBC, RT. Go. That's what I would advise. The listening audience. If you want to get news, go directly to the news source. If you're in Facebook and you see something in your news feed, it's liable to be a bunch of bullshit. So.
Hey, Dan, what is the source of RT? I mean, I know I've watched quite a few videos from RT News, but I don't know where it's based or, what its actual source is. I mean, are they a member of the Associated Press, or what is...
RT is
What's their affiliation?
RT is supposed to be a view of world events from a Russian perspective.
What does it stand for?
I think
You know?
I'm to be honest,
I mean,
I'm
is
not
it
sure.
Russian television? Or, I
I
mean,
thought
that would
I
be my
thought it
first
might
guess.
stand for something like that, but it's essentially just a view of world events from the Russian perspective, Russian European perspective,
Huh.
and they I think they have an office that reports in Los Angeles, Washington, London, and Moscow.
Are they affiliated with Pravda?
I don't believe so. I don't believe they're an official state agency, but they do have a different viewpoint, and a lot of times I think their viewpoint is less biased.
Is it so the aim is to be neutral, or are they nationalistic though? Because I really don't know. I haven't watched it enough to be able to tell the difference.
It seems to me that they're more neutral, and that's what I personally like in news. I like neutrality, you know.
Yeah.
But there's probably some bias towards Russia, but it you know it's more you know when if you compare like American news to RT, in my own perspective, American news is more like it's more like a set up to be like entertaining and not necessarily report the actual issues.
Well, I think I remember you in a earlier episode. You were saying that you feel like the news media in general has been sort of brought under an umbrella corporation, like in the
Right.
sense that they answer to something. I mean, to some corporation. I mean,
Yeah, that is.
I don't know enough about it, but I have seen logos like combined, and even Fox News like falls. I mean, if you ask Alex Jones, he lumps them all together. He's like, this is not. I mean, you can't even trust Fox News, you know. And I don't know. I've watched enough kind of strange stuff on Fox News to sort of question that. So, but I don't know. I don't know what conglomerate actually controls that. I don't really know anything about that.
It's basically I don't know. There's like a relatively it's a low conspiracy. It's not like a high conspiracy type thing, which is like highly questionable. It's based on the idea that the people that own the news companies have an agenda, and they report. They report for ratings. They want ratings.
Right.
So they try to make the shows entertaining and stuff like that. And RT is I've noticed a lot of cable companies don't even carry RT. Like here in New England, Time Warner used to carry RT, and then they stopped carrying RT. And so and then something weird on my tablet. I used to periodically watch RT on my tablet, and then my tablet stopped broadcasting RT. So I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know if there's some NSA crap going on.
What did you say? You know what it was? You were making, you posted some of those things on my Facebook. Putin, he screams through a lot of social media. He must have saw some of those,
Yeah, he saw those things on your Facebook. He's like, Donald Trump.
He said, "Oh, I can log into RT just fine." He was like, "Because I only posted favorable." You said a couple funny things, and he was like, "Niet." Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I've always thought that the computers, the way they work, is really weird, and I've always, I don't know if you have an Android. I've got a tablet, and every time I connect it to the internet, it's always doing these weird updates.
Yep. What do you think of Vice News? Because I've watched a lot of videos from Vice News, and I always like them. You know.
I don't really know
Have
a
you
lot
watched
about
any of them?
Vice News.
Really? I just like I spent like a week just kind of clicking around and like one thread would link something else, and I mean they really go out there and get some weird stories about things. Like remember that strange Jesus cult out in Russia
Yeah.
that I had you watch that time? Yeah, that was Vice News. And you know, my brother told me that for the most part, a lot of their stories they come from like at least politically a more liberal perspective, but because most of their reporters are very young, you know, he said it actually doesn't have a liberal spin to it. I mean, they kind of just ask hard questions and get to the bottom of things, even if, you know, I mean, they don't really have an agenda, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of ask questions on both sides, and pretty much all the videos that I've watched sound like that to me. I've never really seen the kind of omissions, you know, like they don't have a point of view that they're trying to prove, and so they kind of show it all and just sort of leave you to decide what you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
And but they go. I mean, the one video that I watched about ISIS was a Vice News video, and I mean they were in harm's way, you know. Like you could actually watch them having to turn their cameras off and this and that. But I mean, it was kind of shocking. They were going through Mosul, like when they literally had people's heads up on sticks, and I was just like, Jesus, I can't believe I'm seeing this. Like this is real, you know. And they were going through there, but at the same time they were being very. I mean, they weren't trying to sensationalize it. They were just like, we're here. Like this is what's going down. And they were interviewing different people, and one of the things that I can't remember if it was in Mosul or if it was in Raqqa, but they had I mean the only thing I can link it to is like the equivalent of the Gestapo. You know, like they've set up order, and they had these caliphate representatives that like go through the street just to make sure that people are following the letter of the law. You know, like they just come up to someone's shop and they point out her head needs to be covered more, or you know, but they sound. I mean, it's sort of scary because they sound nice. You know, like they call each other brother, and they're like, "Hey, brother," you know, and they smile. But then they interviewed some people off the side, and they're like, "We're afraid." You know, it's like not everybody's down for it, but I mean, you would never see that like on on the nightly news. You might see it on 60 Minutes, like maybe. But for some reason, they were able to get in there in a way that was just very raw, you know. So I don't know if it will continue to be that way, but every video I've ever seen from Vice News is kind of like that. They're just kind of in the thick of it, and you just like take different impressions away from it. You know, it's not exactly what you think. And all I'll say is, when I watched, I think the whole video they did was like 35 minutes. And when I watched that, I was like, wow, I can kind of see why they're recruiting people. Like, I get it. You know, I don't agree with it, but I can see how that might be attractive to certain types of people, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're legitimately trying to set up a caliphate. I mean, they're not just, you know, they're not just running amok. It's not like post-apocalyptic road warrior type stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're trying to set up order for what makes sense to them. And I think that was the scariest thing to watch, is that it wasn't all evil intentions. You know, it was like good intentions gone awry. You know, it was really a scary thing to watch. You know.
Speaking of border, what do you guys think about the immigration going on? And, there's a number of immigration issues that are affecting the United States and Canada. You know, the United States has the immigration coming in from the south, and then Canada is affected by the immigration because I think the Canadian Prime Minister has accepted a lot of Syrian immigrants, which could be potential ISIS plants.
Lynn, you want to comment on that first, since you're...
Yeah, West Trudeau. Yeah, Trudeau's, I think, 10,000 over Christmas, and it'll go up to like 25,000, I think, we see at the target.
What do people think about it where you are? I mean, are people talking about it, or how do they feel?
I know there's quite a few that are willing to help and, you know, gathered stuff for them. There was some that came into Kingston already, I believe. So it's housing, and I mean, they're looking after them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there, I mean, are people talking about it favorably, or are they, for the most part, expressing concern? That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, down here in America, there's a lot of mixed opinions. I mean, I don't think, the average person that I talk to, but I encounter on a daily basis, they're not really that worried about it. You know?
I personally am not really all that worried about it.
Yeah, I just think the issue that was made is that I think ISIL claimed that they were going to infiltrate countries with Syrian immigrants. And
Yeah.
if you look at the dynamics of a terrorist attack, like a standard, you know, terrorist attack like Paris or San Bernardino, you know, Paris, you know, killed 130 people with 6 people, and San Bernardino killed, you know, 14 people with 2. So, you know, with 2 to 6 people, you could kill, you know, 10 to 160 people, depending on how well coordinated the attack is, or more.
Well,
You know,
that's sort of the issue that people have been talking about. You know, I mean, they're trying to balance not having an overreaction to not having an underreaction, and that's really where it lies. But you know, it sparked so much debate. I mean, so many people are talking about it on different levels. I mean, I try to follow it. I've been looking at local papers. I mean, I listen to talk radio on a daily basis. So I mean, I get the different shows, different pundits. I mean, there's various opinions, but actually, I just saw a story yesterday. And again, see, here's the real problem with what we were talking about. On social media, how do you know whether the source material is accurate? You know, is it a real news story? Is it real reporting? Or is it doctored? I mean, is it sensationalized? Is it accurate. How do you know? But I will tell you, I had a link to Ben Carson's actual Facebook page, and he's kind of an interesting person. Because he kind of seems like he'll say whatever he really thinks. I mean, he's kind of like Donald Trump, but in a less abrasive way somehow to people. But he still says some really out there stuff. And he posted a news story on his website, so he was willing to stand behind it. And it was something that came out of the UK where they are actually filing an investigation into how maybe it escaped oversight, but they found out that 10,000 refugees that they plan on bringing in are coming from Middle Eastern refugee camps, and they realize now that whether it was British Secret Service or somehow through their intelligence department, they realized that a lot of these refugee camps were being proselytized with social media. And now they don't know. They don't know who they're bringing in. They don't know if they've been recruited. They don't know if they lean towards supporting ISIS. They just launched this investigation, but the part that caught my eye, that Ben Carson was pointing out, is that they're actually talking about holding people accountable, or Parliament is, for negligence. And they said if that is going on, I mean, and Ben Carson's point was Donald Trump is right. He's right to at least halt, at least temporarily, immigration, because these people have no idea what they're doing. They don't know who they're bringing in. They really don't. And, I mean, given the fact that he's running against him in the election, you would think he wouldn't lead his story with Donald Trump is right,
Mm-hmm.
So he obviously thinks it's important enough to put out there. And I thought that was interesting. And so maybe that kind of links to the whole topic of the rapid fire way that social media can be a catalyst. Like maybe people who otherwise, weren't ready to go full tilt, or they were thinking about something, but I don't know. It's a different world now. Things that weren't possible before seem like they are, like flash paper. They can happen very rapidly without notice, like a flash mob. And I think that was the other thing that I heard in the news like 2 weeks ago. They were talking about, these privacy issues and about whether they can control the net, but they wanted to turn over to the NSA the ability to screen social media, invade people's privacy so that they can see these terrorists talking on Facebook and Twitter and basically they wanted the ability to demand that information from private companies like Facebook and Twitter. And I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, but you know what? Even people's profiles that are public, they can scan them either way anyway.
Yeah.
It's just the private ones that they can't.
Well,
But,
I think
the Facebook on the servers, they can. I mean, they have the data stored somewhere.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think there's
But I think
probably
what they were trying to say is they wanted to be able to, comb through the private ones.
I think there's probably a good chance they're already doing that.
Probably. Yeah.
In other
Well, they
words,
definitely missed San Bernardino. I'll tell you that. Someone missed that. I mean, it's bottom line. They missed that because that was sort of like when there was still a debate. The last straw was they kind of pledged their allegiance on their Facebook to ISIS before they went and did this. Whoops. We missed that.
all right.
But,
Well, we've come to the end of the episode. I want to thank the YouTube audience for listening. This has been an installment of Faultline, where we bring you random, eclectic, and varied topics of the day and the world and the various countries. And thank you for listening, and looking forward to seeing you for the next episode.